Hi, Bryson. Here's chapter 2 of Stink in the World's Worst Super Stinky Sneakers. This chapter is called More Fun Than Earwax. Stink took an up-close and personal tour of the giant nose. He got attacked by giant nose hairs, peered down a big, ugly, bumpy throat, and skipped through the hall of mucus. Ew! He even learned how boogers are made. Not pretty. Having fun? Miss D asked him. Are you kidding? This is more fun than earwax. Stink told Mrs. D, and educational too, he added. Grown-ups love the E word. They like to think you were learning stuff no matter what. Mrs. D smiled. Stink, you seem to be interested in the sense of smell. Maybe you'd like to try the Everybody Stinks exhibit. Nobody else seems to want to go near it. Mrs. D pinched her nose and shook her head. How smelly can it be? Stink said bravely. Mrs. D pointed to the far end of the exhibit. Stink strolled over and read the instructions. Match the body odor with the body parts they come from. Stink read aloud. Before Stink knew it, the whole class had gathered around. Webster announced to the class, "Hey, everybody, Stink's gonna smell B.O." Stink wasn't sure he wanted to smell B.O. Do you know what B.O. means? It means body odor, like B.O. Stink wasn't sure he wanted to smell B.O., but he hated to let Webster and everybody down, so Stink mustered up all his courage. He leaned over, put his nose right up to the bottle, and squeezed it. He took one sniff, then scrunched up his face, clutched his chest, and crumpled to the floor. Ugh! Everybody gasped, taking what sounded like one big breath. I could just hear that. Ooh, ugh, yuck. Oh, look at the picture. There he is on the floor. It says, "What's that smell? Armpit? Rotten egg? Skunk?" Squeeze the bottle and sniff deeply, it says. "Ha ha, gotcha," Stink cried, jumping back up. "What did it smell like?" Sophie asked. "Feet," said Stink. "It's not that bad. Just smells like dirty socks when your feet sweat and you take your shoes off." "Sounds bad to me," said Webster. Stink squeezed the next bottle. "Uck!" Look, U-C-K. Uck! "This one smells like onion, maybe garlic." "Phew! Bad breath," Stink said, waving his hand in front of his face. "P.U. This one smells like my soccer shirt. Armpit alert." When you're sweating, does it stink under there? Maybe not yet. It will. "It's B.O., somebody shouted. He did it. He really smelled B.O., and he didn't even faint. After Stink smelled all the body part smells, he moved to the next station. Rotten eggs, dirt, perfume, mothballs, skunk, rotten cabbage, dog breath, old fish, dead broccoli. Ooh, they all sound awful, don't they? Look, mothballs even, broccoli. Stink sniffed and snuffed his way through a dozen yucky, rotten smells. Do you know what a dozen is? A dozen is 12 of something. 12 is called a dozen. He made a few faces, but he guessed every single smell right. He has a good smeller, doesn't he? Do you think that you're as good as he is? "P.U. How do you do that? You didn't miss one," said Webster. "I just follow my nose," said Stink, sticking his expert sniffer into the air. Like this, just follows his nose. "You always were nosy," said Sophie of the Elves, laughing. "Some people have an excellent sense of smell," said Mrs. D explained. "I smell something too," said Sophie. Hamburgers. When do we eat lunch? Asked Webster. My digestion is empty. Class 2D sat at the picnic tables outside, munching on sandwiches. Mrs. D passed around flyers from the museum about a stinky sneaker contest being held in the park in 2 weeks. Stinky sneaker contest? It sounds interesting. Look at that. The old-time world's worst super stinky sneaker contest. Can you see it? Think you could win one with your super sneaky sneakers? That's really hard to say. Super stinky sneakers. See if you can say that 3 times. Super stinky sneakers. Okay. Stink read the flyer. Wow, check it out. Can anybody enter? Anybody with smelly stinkers, said Mrs. D, chuckling. Oh, look at that picture. Are they at the contest? Stinky stinks are the worst, said Webster, backing away from stink. Look at that. They have worst is in all capital letters because they want you to say worst like it's really loud. Okay, so if you're writing a story and you want to make it sound like it's really loud, you just put it all big letters. But my sneakers are so smelly. I had to wear rain boots today, said Sophie, showing off her pink polka dot boots. I bet I can win. My sneakers will beat the pants off of yours all day, Stink told Sophie. But you haven't even smelled mine, said Sophie. Stink shrugged. I'm just saying, his sneakers just had to be the smelliest. But what if Sophie's were super stinky bad, too? Or worse? She might win. Look at that. It says, smell monsters. Well, I'm sure my daughter will want to enter the smell monsters, said Mrs. D said, making air quotes with her hands. That means like this. She said, smell monsters. That's what we call her sneakers. They call her sneakers smell monsters. So I hope to see some of you there in 2 weeks. Then Mrs. D asked them all about what they learned at the Gross Me Out exhibit. I learned that even walruses have dandruff, said Eliza. I learned the words to the diarrhea song, said Patrick. Let's wait till after lunch to hear that, said Mrs. D. I learned how to say fart in Spanish, said Jordan. Pedo. I'm not sure how to say that. Pedo, P-E-D-O. I learned that spit is gross, said Riley. I learned that there are more critters in your mouth than people in Australia, said Sophie of the Elves. Critters means like germs and microbes and things like that. We already said that. I learned that stink is the best smeller in the world, said Webster. We should call you the nose, said Sophie. You know how to smell better than a dog. Better than an ant, said Stink. Everybody looked at him funny. What? An ant has 5 noses, said Stink, nodding his head and tapping his honker. No lie. Here's Stink's stinky facts again. 250,000 stinkers. Did you know that, whoops, there's Grandpa calling me. Let me hang it up. Did you know that just 1 foot contains 250,000 sweat glands and doses up to 2 cups of sweat a day? No wonder stinkies are so smelly. The next chapter is called Rumple Stinkskin. Wonder what that one's about. Okay, I'll record that one too. And then when you're done with this one, hopefully I'll have that one up in time. Okay, I'll let you know. All right, bye-bye.